If you're looking for a free workout, unfortunately, I don't have it for you. I have 30 days filled with free workouts. Matter of fact, you want to use the link in the description right now, sign up and enjoy. Grüezi miteinander, Gregory von Lebe Stark here. Number one, when you move or maneuver the kettlebells around, do not bend your back. Do not do stuff like this, where you try to lift the kettlebell, or if it's a little bit far away from you, you try to do this, because people get hurt actually when they don't train. I got a feedback from a subscriber who said he got hurt in his lower back when he put the kettlebell in his car. Now, you don't have to overdo it. This is a pin, and if it lies on the floor, of course I can bend my spine and pick it up. But this is a 16 kg kettlebell, and if we're not warmed up, and if we're not careful, doing stuff like this may hurt our backs. Number two is grabbing the kettlebell like a dumbbell. If I grab a dumbbell, I have to grab it like this because the modality forces me to use it like this. So therefore, the first thing that most of the time gives out is my forearm muscles. With the kettlebell, we do something that is called hand insertion, where I insert my hand as deep as possible into the kettlebell window. Now, the kettlebell sits on my frame. I can wiggle my fingers. I don't have to grab it. It just sits right here. Number three you want to avoid is swinging, cleaning, or snatching the weight with your arms instead of your hips. Now, if you do it intentionally, we can call it a muscle swing, clean, or snatch. But most of the time, people are just not used to using their hips. So watch what a swing looks like. As you can see, my arms are loose and I'm using my hips. Same goes for the clean. And same goes for the snatch. Number four, bracing the abdominals all the time so that you walk around like RoboCop. You don't have to do this. Let me demonstrate the clean and jerk. As I'm racking the weight, there's no bracing going on in my abdominals. As I'm jerking the weight in the second dip, no bracing going on. This doesn't mean that there aren't exercises where making sure that your core is tight aren't necessary or that it doesn't make sense. But if you hear this mantra, brace your core, this doesn't mean that you have to do it all the time. Number five, failing to breathe correctly. This is an advanced one. Let me show you how I breathe during a hand-to-hand swing. So I breathe into the nose as the kettlebell lands in the backswing, and I use a forceful exhale as the kettlebell travels up and as I'm switching hands. I call this method cocaine breathing. Why is this so important? If you're working with kettlebells, most of the time, this type of training modality is used for longer sets and longer periods of time because it is a semi-heavy weight, 16, 20, 24, and even 28, 32 kgs if you are very strong and getting used to the weight. And because you are swinging it and using ballistic maneuvers, it is more made towards longer sets of time. Doesn't mean that you can use it for other purposes or shorter sets with heavier weights as well. But since we use it for this purpose, we have to breathe correctly so that we can go for longer sets of time and don't have to put the kettlebell down because we go into this oxygen depth. We need a lot of air, but our engine doesn't get the adequate amount. Number six is something that I see often in our coaching practices. And then you hear me yell through the floor, put the kettlebell down safely. And that is dropping the kettlebell like a bag of rice once the set is finished. And that looks a little bit something like this. I don't want to exaggerate it because I don't want to hurt myself. But let's just say we're doing a press. And once the beep goes off, we're finished. People go like, beep, beep. Always make sure that you drop the kettlebell with a lot of caution. Because right there in that second when you have finished the set and your mind wants to drift away into your deserved break, right then and there is where injury is lurking and waiting to pounce on you. Number 7, I might get a little flack for this, but I want to put it out there. Taking an expert's opinion as gospel instead of a guide. Let's take Pavel Tsatsouline, for example. She demonstrates that simplicity makes sense, and I'm a huge fan of this. One of his most famous workouts is simple and sinister, swings and get up. Awesome, I love it. But his stuff on cardio and endurance, not so sure if he's on the right path on that one. Take me, for example. I sometimes change my opinion because I think a certain way, and then I'll talk to a lot of experts, and then they come up with evidence and arguments that force me to change my opinion. Number 8, train like a fool. Now, this doesn't come as no surprise, right? But why am I saying this? I have the broad population in mind, and most people do not prioritize working out. So when they do make time to engage in the workout, I want them to get their biggest bang for their buck and the biggest return on investment so that they see results down the line as soon as possible so that they stay at it. Number 9, never carry a watch, a bracelet, or a ring. Yes, I know. If you don't carry your Apple Watch, the workout doesn't count. And if you take off your wedding ring, your spouse might cut your head off. I do understand it. Yet at the end of the day, you're just not getting the same workout if you always have to be careful of the gadgets that are stuck on your hands. It might even distract you, and worst of all, it might even damage or ultimately destroy your gadget. So when you pick up a kettlebell, make sure it's wrist and fingers free. Number 10, disrespecting the weights. What does that mean? Maybe in the gym you're used to 50, 60, 70, 80 kgs or hundreds of pounds that you are lifting, which I do command and I respect that most definitely. But when you start working with the kettlebell, the whole thing changes because it's more geared towards power and strength endurance to a certain extent. So therefore, never discount a 16 kg or a 20 kg as a man, and don't discount an 8 or 12 as a woman because they most definitely will challenge you if you use them properly. And another thing which I really love is a quote from Pavel Tsatsouline that comes from handling firearms. Treat every gun like it's loaded. And with the kettlebell, we can use a similar analogy like Pavel is using, and that is called treat the kettlebell like it's loaded, or how I like to say it, treat every weight with the same amount of respect, and you won't get hurt, or it won't burn you out. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you on the next one.